Can you use deadly force against someone who is using their fists or about to use their fists against you? The general answer is no, but that's a bit of an oversimplification. In Texas, you can use force to counter the unlawful use of force against you. That has to be based on your reasonable belief that it is immediately necessary. Reasonableness is always a critical consideration in the use of force. While a normal punch may not be a deadly force in every circumstance, if you have a victim, or in a criminal case, the defendant who had to use self-defense, deadly force to defend themselves, and they have special circumstances, they're frail, they're elderly, they're otherwise limited in their capacity to defend themselves, that might be an instance where the force being used against them is actually deadly force. Similarly, you have to look at the person exerting the deadly force. We have seen in Tarrant County many times where individuals were charged with their fists as deadly weapons. So if it's good for the prosecution, it's certainly good for the defense to say that this particular person, let's say they were an MMA fighter, if that person uses their fists against a normal person, that might be a situation that calls for a response of deadly force. So this is always a fact-based inquiry. And what does that mean? It means it'll be up to a grand jury or a judge or a trial jury to ultimately decide whether or not the use of deadly force to defend a person, defend themselves, or a third person was reasonable. Another situation where you might be able to use deadly force to defend yourself is if you're being attacked by multiple assailants. Even assuming they're all using their fists, that threat that they present as a group is much greater than any one of them individually. So the facts and circumstances matter absolutely when you're raising self-defense in the context of using deadly force. While we're on the topic of using deadly force to defend yourself, it's important to touch on what most people call stand your ground. If you look at all the laws in Texas, you'll never see the phrase stand your ground. We do have a concept though, that if you're in a place that you have a legal right to be, and that you have not done anything to provoke or start an attack, then you don't have a duty to retreat. So if someone attacks you, you don't have a duty to retreat. Understand though, that just because a person attacks you and you don't have a duty to retreat does not mean you can automatically use deadly force. You have to be able to show that you had a reasonable belief that your use of deadly force was immediately necessary, and understand that the judges, the juries, or potentially a grand jury is always going to look at that question of reasonableness. Was your belief reasonable? Would a reasonable person standing in your shoes believe that it was immediately necessary? Self-defense, whether it's the use of non-deadly force or the use of deadly force, is a justification. It's an affirmative defense. That means it is likely to almost certain that after using self-defense, and certainly after using deadly force to defend yourself, you're going to be arrested. You're going to be charged with an offense. An affirmative defense means that you and your lawyer can raise that in court and try to overcome the charge. It's saying, yes, I did use that force, but the law says I'm justified in doing so. So be prepared for an arrest. Remember to remain silent. Don't give any statements to anyone about what happened. Wait for your attorney to give you counsel and advise you on whether you should give any statements at all, or let the evidence speak for itself, or let the attorney speak for you. If you find yourself facing charges for using force or deadly force to defend yourself in North Texas, give us a call. We made this video in response to a question we received on this channel. If you have a question about criminal law in Texas or any federal criminal law, drop a comment below and we look forward to answering those questions in a future video.